All right, now let's look at the anatomy of a Screaming Frog report. So here we are looking at the internal report, and we're going to cover all the reports in detail, but we just want to get a general idea for some of the features. So we're in any specific report, we get all the tabular data, and this data is relevant to the report itself. So this is the internal report, which essentially shows us only pages on the domain which we're searching. And as we scroll through this, we get the URL, the content type, status code, and we're going to get a number of different columns. This internal report is actually a good overview report that just brings in a lot of data about each URL. So that's all the tabular data. Now, specific to each report are a different set of filters. So for the internal report, we could set a filter to look only at HTML files, for example, and that'll filter and show us only HTML, or only JavaScript, or only CSS, or only images. And again, for each report, these filters are going to be a little bit different, but relevant to the report itself. So it allows us to really zoom in on specific types of content. Next to the filter, we've got an export tool, and this will basically just shoot out the tabular data into like a CSV format. Some different views we can do. By default, we look at a list view, which is pretty down and dirty list of all the URLs, but we could also jump into tree view, and this gives us sort of a hierarchy based on the file structure of your website. So sometimes it's a little easier to find the content you're looking for by looking at something in a tree view. And lastly, we've got this search bar, and the search bar allows us to search within this tabular data and filter accordingly. So let's just say we wanted to look at only information where the URL contains, say, WP content. We just type that in the box, hit enter, and you'll see our results filter. So again, this search tool becomes useful, depending on the report and what you're looking for, but it'll search basically any column in this table. And finally, we have, and we talked about this a little bit in the past, is the detail section. So as we highlight any one URL, you'll notice that the details below change. We can get a lot more detail on the URL itself. So let's look at our Contact Us page. And obviously, we can see the address and the status code. We'll get things like the title tag, some of the different heading tags on the page. So we get a lot of different information about each URL. Again, inlinks will help us understand what other URLs are linking to this page, and outlinks will help us understand what URLs this page is linking to. Get some image information and the SERP snippet. So that's a general anatomy of reports, and as we'll note in future as we go through each report in detail, we have different sets of filters and data that pulls into each.